me. It is my practice that I touch their feet. That's all I did here. But guess it wasn't enough to stop the ripples it stirred. For many of Rajini's fans, this was a betrayal by a star whose fans treat him as God. And to those who continue to harbour hopes of Rajinikanth making a long-expected political plunge, it was a declaration in many ways of his leanings. A section is also worried that an endorsement of this kind by none other than Rajinikanth would rather help validate the image of the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister in Tamil Nadu ahead of the 2024 general elections. In fact, Congress leader Udit Raj has an added theory that's worth mentioning here. He is of the opinion that Rajinikanth's gesture stems from his perception of Yogi Adityanath as a future Prime Minister, considering Rajinikanth has never displayed such courtesy towards Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Also, pitting the Thalaiva with the Ulaga Nayakan cannot be far behind now, can it? And hence, an old video of fellow Tamil actor and budding politician Kamal Haasan, who is also an atheist by the way, has surfaced, where Kamal Haasan can be heard talking about never touching the feet of anyone, even God. Political leaning or an impending foray into the field, a conjecture that would never leave the leader or Thalaiva for his legions of fans. That's what we're discussing on Viewpoint tonight.
Sadhu is a person who left everything, who is not aspiring for positions, power and others, as far as I know. Whether Mr. Ajay Singh or Adityanath has left the chief ministership.
ஒரு சன்னியாசி ஆகட்டும் இல்லை ஒரு யோகி ஆகட்டும், அவங்க வயசில் நம்மளோட சின்னவராக இருந்தால் கூட அவர் காலையில் விழுறது என்னுடைய பழக்கம். நான் அதான் செஞ்சேன்.
Who is Congress? What do they know about Indian tradition? What do they know about our culture? It shows very clearly that the Congress has gone out of our culture. It is Indian culture, not Italian culture. They should know that.
Opening this up to my panel, who joins me this evening, Dr. Kaushal Mishra of the Bharatiya Janata Party is with us. Nupur Mehta, who's an actor, is with us. Also with us is George Kunyad, who's a political analyst. We are also expecting a member of the Congress Party, Mr. Udit Raj, to be joining us very, very shortly. But Dr. Mishra, let me begin with you. How do you read this controversy around the Thalaiva and the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath?
Griha, I think there is no controversy at all if the Rajinikanth himself came out and said that it is just a gesture of respect and it is a tradition of Hindu culture and Indian society that if anybody meets to any Swami or any saint or any yogi or any Mahatma, we also used to touch his feet. Age is no bar between this. It is all about the commitment and person's own shraddha. So I don't see there is anything like politics, but anybody who wants to do the politics, they can free to do. But it is a normal gesture, it is a normal courteous meeting by the Rajinikanth ji to not only Yogi ji. He met with Anandi Ben Patel, he met with Akhilesh ji, he met even Raja Bhaiya, he met even Deputy CM Keshav Prasad Maurya ji. So he I think his visit was a totally professional visit, and being a CM of UP state, Yogi ji also he wanted to meet, and it is normal meeting, and just touching the feet, it's his own faith and belief, and I think that is a proper way to respect any yogi or any sadhu or anything. I don't see any politics about that.
Dr. Mishra, it was interesting how you called him the Rajinikanth. Everybody, his fans, they call him the Thalaiva, the leader. He has a certain kind of position, a position of power in society. And we all know the kind of fan base that Rajinikanth has. And that's why probably it has ruffled a few feathers, especially in his fan base, because they consider him God. Like I said in my introduction, there are many of them, they consider him as God, and he genuflecting before a chief minister of the state, because remember, we're talking about Yogi Adityanath. He obviously comes from a position of power, and that is the office of the chief minister that he commands in the state of UP. And that's why there is a lot of conjecture that's being drawn, whether it is from his past meeting, Rajinikanth's past meeting that he met with the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, or now with Yogi Adityanath, of his political leanings. How does the BJP choose to look at that?
I think you have to see that Yogi ji comes from a tradition of yogi culture. He is not a normal human being. He is a yogi, and Modi is a normal means he is a prime minister of our country. So if he meets Pradhan Mantri ji, he gives it its own way of respecting, but he himself clarify that it is yogi and sadhu. If he is meeting to somebody as a yogi and sadhu, he can touch the feet. I don't see any politics behind this, but opposition is free to do anything.
Okay. I believe we also have Udit Raj now, member of the Congress party. Mr. Udit Raj, let me take in a few questions with you first, considering you have an interesting anecdote and also an interesting theory to share as far as this entire controversy that's been played out. Now, you are claiming that it is Rajinikanth who sees a prime minister in Yogi Adityanath. He sees where the leadership lies as far as the Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned, and hence, you know, this honorable gesture bowing to Yogi Adityanath. How do you actually support and base those claims?
See, the gesture and respect what Rajinikanth has shown to Yogi ji has never shown to Modi ji. And if he considers that Yogi ji is sannyasi or hermit, then of course Modi ji also assumes that position. He also is in robes, like saffron robes. So I feel that he gives more weight to Yogi ji than Modi ji. Modi ji goes there to Chennai, but he never does. And elsewhere also they need it. So not only that, thing from the BJP camp itself, there are rumors that future Prime Minister will be Mr. Yogi.
Okay.
This is what we hear from. See, I don't know.
So basically, you are hearing, you're basing your claims to these rumors that you are attributing to the BJP camp. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Sometimes you see to whisper talk is like that. Like Archer Siddharth Reddy is promoting Yogi ji. Maybe that has influenced Rajinikanth to touch his feet. Otherwise, why can't he touch the feet of Modi ji?
Okay.
Modi ji also sannyasi. He goes and of course he is in transcendental stage in
But Udit Rajji, if we were to go by the statements that Rajinikanth has made, he's gone on to say that anybody who is a yogi or a sannyasi, I would deliberately go ahead and bow down to that person irrespective of what his age is. That's what the spiritual side really is laid bare as far as the actor is concerned. So how do you read that statement when you're making these claims?
See, what happened is that there is a discussion that from Kedarnath, he was to go over there. He stopped over Lucknow. And what made him to especially meet Yogi ji? And when he comes to Delhi, then he doesn't meet Prime Minister here. So there is something, or maybe in his mind, of course, the weightage of Mr. Yogi is more than Modi ji.
Okay.
These are the things which are discussed, that it's a sort of non-conventional for Rajinikanth.
Okay.
See, now Rajinikanth normally doesn't do like this, but this is the very extraordinary move of Rajinikanth going to Yogi ji and touching his feet.
Okay.
I don't know what is in mind, but what is being murmured in the in political circle, in of course, in journalist circle, that definitely he has something in his mind.
Okay. So,
He respects a
I
lot
would
of
quickly get
Modi.
Dr. Mishra to respond to this claim that you're making, Mr. Raj. I would request you to stay on with us. Quick response from Dr. Mishra, then I will go to George Kurian. That's an interesting aspect that we need to be looking at, Dr. Mishra. Now, Congress is claiming that there is a rift between the BJP camp. And it's not just a rift. It's a big claim that's been made by the Congress party, which is attributed to the rumors that are coming in from the BJP camp. How do you respond?
Griha, Mr. Udit Raj has clarified that he is claiming all the claims based on the rumors, so nothing to say. But you have to see that it is the first time that in the Indian history, first time some yogi is becoming chief minister from the BJP camp, and anybody is coming and giving the respect to him. It is not digested by any opposition leader. He has to understand that this is the first time when some yogi is becoming CM. And that is why that Rajinikanth ji has touches his feet. I don't see any politics, but I don't know why everybody wants to see politics in all the activity. And he is saying that he came to Delhi and not meet the Prime Minister. Yeah. He might be requested, but Prime Minister is so busy. He is going to the BRICS meeting. Okay. He is too busy to for normal formal meetings. So you have to understand the busyness of Prime Minister and busyness of a CM. Some guest is coming to Uttar Pradesh,
so
who
no
is the
truth
CM,
to these
is
rumors that
head of
Yogi
the
can be considered as a prime ministerial face. That's a pointed question that I'm asking you, so that we just nip it in the bud.
Yes, the quick answer is that the Sangathan will decide who will be the, after winning the 24 Modi is coming as Prime Minister of India. After 29th, we will decide and Sangathan will take decision who will be the face of the Prime Minister. I don't see there is any controversy, but yes, I am happy that at least Congress is expecting that BJP is bringing another Prime Minister in 29. Thank you very much to Congress.
All right. Okay. So basically, you have left the door open. As far as 2024 is concerned, the Prime Minister has himself stated that he is returning to power, but you have kept the options open when it is about 2029. That's what I'm taking, the cue that I'm taking from this conversation, Dr. Mishra. Let me actually quickly bring in George Kurian. George, can we really keep the politics aside from this visit of Rajinikanth, especially to Uttar Pradesh, also going to the Ayodhya temple? Can we really do that? Or the conjectures that are being made on his political leanings, there is of course no smoke without fire. How do you read it?
Very good evening to your audience. As a political strategist, I look at this in a different manner. I strongly believe that the BJP has been eyeing the south of India, especially the Tamil Nadu, that they want to get their brand of politics. So they are eyeing Rajinikanth to give them that leverage to get into the south. And I strongly believe that this is nothing but a cheap stunt by Rajinikanth himself. He is a staunch actor. He's in the south, and especially in part of South India, he's prayed and he's looked as a godly figure to be very specific. And I strongly believe that no yogi or sannyasi when in politics can be true to the path of God. And I strongly believe so. Touching the feet of yogi in this scenario is uncalled for. I strongly believe. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you have to say about his political leanings? Are they being laid bare, as is being claimed by many, as far as Rajinikanth is concerned?
Well, we can look at the entire promotional of his movie in Uttar Pradesh and his visit to Ayodhya, which is in the future. So it looks like the Modi government and BJP is looking at Rajinikanth and using him as a political mileage to enter south of India.
Okay. Nupur Mehta, you're an actor. You're also a fan of the Saliva. What did you in fact feel when you saw that image of Rajinikanth bowing before Yogi Adityanath? Did you really read too much into it now that the controversy has escalated, it's spiraled out of control, we are actually debating it on national TV? Or did you think that it's totally okay?
Good evening, Griha. Well, I think the trollers and the critics have been really unkind with Rajinikanth. He's trolled in a highly tumultuous manner, which was really not required. I feel it's a freedom of expression and that we cannot take away from any citizen of our country. It's a way to express his regards and respect towards the holy man. Yogi ji follows the doctrines of piousness and righteousness. He possesses virtue that brought him fame and popularity. And I'm sure that these holy and miraculous powers that Yogi ji possesses made Rajinikanth bow to him. In fact, I would like to put a point here. Shah Rukh Khan bowed to Mamta Banerjee. Mr. Raj Kapoor bowed to Haji Mastan in his days. Nobody trolled for that. Nobody made a big issue or highly criticized them for that. So I think bowing in our Hindu culture is a highly affirmative way to show respect and dignity towards a godly person.
We're talking about two things here, Anupur. These claims that you made, obviously, Shah Rukh Khan meeting Mamta Banerjee, showing respect to a lady and also a Chief Minister of West Bengal, considering the position that she holds, or for that matter, the Haji Mastan example that you've used. No, we've not really seen actors genuflect before, a personality or these people that you've spoken about. So this obviously has been taken out of that context.
That's the truth.
So that's what I wanted to understand. Let me actually bring in Udit Raj back. Mr. Udit Raj.
I personally feel that Shah Rukh Khan bowing towards Mamta Banerjee is not wrong. It is his way of showing respect to Mamta Banerjee.
No, absolutely.
But
that's what I'm
he
saying.
was not criticized or trolled. That is the point.
Okay.
And here,
Udit Raj, all right, I'll come to you,
Nupur.
I'll come to you, Nupur. Mr. Udit Raj, I'd like to understand this one aspect. You are claiming that this might just spell off a big change in the offing as far as the Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned, because there is a certain amount of clout that Yogi Adityanath commands within the party. But when it is about Rajinikanth, there has been a conversation around his impending plunge into politics. What does this meeting or his going to Uttar Pradesh, even if it be to promote his film Jailer, how do you see all the maneuvers that were undertaken by the actor, especially this one that we are particularly talking about?
You see, we don't have anything into it. It is his choice what he does it. But the discussion which is there behind the scene, behind the curtain, that I have brought about. And secondly, that is something extraordinary, not a routine thing for Rajinikanth. That I have said, and we don't have any objection. It is his personal choice. It is personal freedom what he does it. Nobody is objecting it. But what is said that certainly the move is little bit very extraordinary. That was the only thing to discuss. Otherwise, it is his choice to do what he does.
But would you also say that this move was mutually beneficial for both Yogi Adityanath and also Rajinikanth? Would you call this mutually beneficial? Because this, in a sense, because of the clout that Rajinikanth commands, especially in a state like in Tamil Nadu, also parts of Karnataka, do you think this will also give a certain kind of position to Yogi Adityanath ahead of the general elections next year?
Certainly. Personal intimacy, friendship does matter. If JP contest, definitely they will contest election in Tamil Nadu, and which personal fraternity with him may help at some point of time. It can't be ruled out. Anyway, that also is none of us or anybody to interfere in it. Of course, it is them to decide. And we are not saying that we are not raising any finger, no question about it, just a discussion that definitely out of proportion, the respect shown by him is just a bit extraordinary. That is what we just discussed and nothing else. Of course, he must be looking something. There will be a mutual benefit
Yeah.
not in current but in future also mutually beneficial to each other. So it's up to them to decide.
Like
And
just
it's
just
a-
adding
Let's
up
not
to
drag
adding on to
politics
that
in
question,
every
adding on to that
expression.
question, Udit, I want to ask you this: that when it comes to the mud politics, it's not as much prevalent in the state of Tamil Nadu. However, it is a lot there in the state of Karnataka. This, by positioning him as bowing before the sannyasi, before the yogi of the Gorakhdham mutt, that's how the positioning has been, and that's what has been endorsed by Rajinikanth. That will be helping the politics of Yogi Adityanath or the BJP in the state of both Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. How is the Congress planning to counter that?
See what happened that even if he jumps into politics, Rajinikanth tried number of times, but the political soil of Tamil Nadu is different.
Okay.
And it's difficult for him or anyone for that matter, except Dravidian parties,
Yes.
to make really any substantial mark, or they can really improve the
Okay.
Tamil politics. BJP has been trying it
Yes.
very hard for a
Yes.
long time, but has not succeeded. Even Congress has been marginalized. When at one point of time, Congress was the main opposition party, but of course, main party rather. Then after DMK emerged, then ADIMK emerged. So the society is different from others. Discourses are different, priorities are different, and they are a bit. I can say that
Yes.
they are towards social reforms, etc. And justice, social justice agenda is.
Okay. So basically,
all
उदित राज जी अब ये
yes
कह रहे हैं
and
कि इससे
other
बीजेपी को
difficult-
कोई ज्यादा कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा क्योंकि इनरोड्स बनाने में भी बहुत वक्त लगेगा, सिर्फ रजनीकांत का स्टैंप इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. बट जॉर्ज कुरियन, I'd like to
No,
understand.
indeed it is important. Indeed it is important. It's
Okay.
important, but definitely in Tamil politics, difficult. But definitely he has influence, but not that much influence that he can overturn or he can do substantially
Okay.
achievement over there. That is also.
Okay, all right. George Kurian, would you agree to what Udit Raj is saying as far as the foray or probably
I'm another
giving
channel.
Yogi Adityanath that kind of head start that's required for the BJP, especially in the state of Tamil Nadu?
Well, as I said earlier, I look at it as an event which is a cheap stunt, as I said earlier, and I strongly believe that BJP is eyeing to make inroads to south of India and especially Tamil Nadu, where they have been trying hard. And looking at the Lok Sabha 2024 elections, BJP is trying to rope in Rajinikanth and make him because he has the lineage towards the party, and to bring that brand of politics into south, as it's very important for them to come back to power in 2024. And I strongly believe that there must be some understanding between the two, that's BJP and Rajinikanth, for some understanding and for some kind of a, give and take kind of a thing. So he's been used to, promote his film at the same time, giving that image of, a South Indian stalwart actor like Rajinikanth, endorsing the brand of politics that BJP is into.
Okay. So, Dr. Mishra, would you like to actually respond to these claims? A lot of it can be staged. Something similar was seen in the last general elections. Right ahead of that, there was a big meeting of Rajinikanth, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We are seeing something similar. This time, the person who is at the center of it all is Yogi Adityanath. Rajinikanth specially making his way to Uttar Pradesh, a state which of course is a very, very important state where the BJP holds a lot of clout and command. That is UP, ahead of general elections, and then meeting with the chief minister of the state, going to strategic locations like the Ayodhya. These claims, how is the BJP planning to basically field all of these arguments?
Greha, I think BJP is not have eyes only on the Tamil Nadu or any part of country. If the BJP is having eyes on the POK as well as Exai Chin, so for us any inch of land of whole country is very important. And yes, we are preparing at each and every election, at each and every seats. with full force. I don't see there is any problem in fighting all the taking care of all the area of our country. But mixing this faith of Mr. Rajinikanth ji with Yogi ji with politics is I don't understand. But yes, we are ready for every place of the country. Another thing, Udit Raj ji was telling that society is different. In my opinion, Griha, there is only one type of society. One is poor and one is rich, and poverty is similar all over the country. And our policy of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas and Sabka Vishwas is flowing all over the country, each and every part of the country, whether it is road, whether it is home, whether it is Shauchalaya, whether it is electricity, whether it is gas connection, everything. So yes, we are coming to whole country with all
Dr.
our
Mishra,
work done,
Sabka
which we
Saath
did
and everything is fine. Sabka Saath is and everything is fine, but your detractors, especially BJP's detractors, are claiming that there is a strategic use of Rajinikanth that has been done over here.
Griha, just you have to understand that Rajinikanth came to CM Yogi. It's not that some BJP leader went to Rajinikanth. So it's a normal gesture of any politician as a CM of the state, as a politician, and also as a yogi.
Yes.
Anybody can come and meet anybody.
Nupur, let me get the lady to have the last word. Nupur, I want to understand, there is a spiritual side of Rajinikanth that he has never shied away from. If you believe in the people who are very, very close to Rajinikanth, they will say that he sees anything saffron, he will definitely go ahead and bow to that person, irrespective of the political ideology. That doesn't really feature in the scheme of things. So I want to understand from you, can we actually look at it as a standalone gesture? Because that's what the debate is all about. Whether this was a standalone gesture or whether there was something deeply political about it.
Absolutely, Griha. I think it's a very acceptable manner to bow feet in our culture, in our religion. It is a great way to show respect. And I think let's not indulge politics and drag everything into politics. You know, whenever celebrities are concerned or big leaders are concerned, to give due respect to both the politicians and the panel, nothing against them, but they both are indulging politics and, creating a big hype about it, which is highly criticizing. Moreover, I would like to add that the Western way of greeting someone like shaking hands or embracing, I think it's a very contagious manner to spread viral infection. Rather, our Hindu culture permits us to bow feet or to do namaste, which is very healthy, and I think we must follow that.
Okay.
And differentiating here that why didn't he touch Mr. Modi's feet and why he's touching Mr. Yogi's feet, I think this is very ridiculous. That is his personal way of expressing, that's his body language. So we should give that liberty to Mr. Rajinikanth.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to thank all my panelists who have joined me this evening. Two of them agree to the fact that this can be a standalone gesture. One should not read too much into the picture, while the other two, of course, cannot really stay away from the kind of political significance that this picture has commanded. And of course, definitely, many would call it a storm in a teacup, others wouldn't. Because all of them, of course, are also waiting for Rajinikanth's foray into the political sphere, long pending. With that, we're slipping into a very short break, but on the other side, Karnataka government is all set to scrap the national education policy. The educational reform or political gain, is this the big question that needs to be asked? That is what we are trying to understand on the other side. Stay with us.
Co-powered by.
Slightly harder for Magnus because he has missed the opportunity more often.
Yes.
So when he gets there, he really doesn't want to miss this time. And nerves will play an important part. In fact, there will be several mistakes. It's normal. Under the tension, both of them will wilt. There will be several mistakes and so on. But can you keep control after those mistakes? That will be the key.
In some ways, could it also be beneficial for Pragananda that he's kind of the challenger here and the underdog?
Yes, I think he is clearly the underdog. And just like Karuvanaya yesterday and the last 2 days, I expect his weakest area relative to them will be opening preparation. So he'll have to survive the opening, get into a position that he wants to play. The opening is where you decide what kind of game you're going to try and reach. He'll have to survive that phase. But if he does that, he's halfway there, and then he has the chance to play well. But it's mental, it's physical. Can he take 5 or 6 hours of hard work, hard calculation? Can he stand the strain of this big title? Again, big titles put a pressure on you. The closer you are, the harder it gets, because it's easier for you to think, oh, I've reached, and then your attention flags. Never letting that thought come in. All these will be a big test against him on one of the biggest stages against a very big opponent.
I do want to ask you, regardless of what happens in this final, of course, all of us, I think 1 billion people are rooting for Pragananda. He has already kind of achieved one important goal, which is, as you mentioned, playing in the Candidates 2024 to be the challenger to Lurin. Just how important is that, you think?
The candidates is actually the goal of the World Cup. I mean, people play the World Cup to qualify for the candidates. Carlsen is playing the World Cup because he has never won a knockout tournament. Slightly different motivation.
Yes.
But the candidates is important because if you play in the candidates, and that's a difficulty all its own, and if you can win that, then you get to play the World Championship. So for Prag, those are the more important goals. However, he is getting the chance to play a highly motivated opponent at a very, very big, on a very, very big stage. That kind of practice.
There is already a lot of talk about this final, particularly because Pragananda has beaten Magnus Carlsen in previous events, and actually that's how he shot to fame in India as well. But before I get to that, after his semi-final win last evening, Pragananda talked about how it's his defensive skills that have been saving him. He almost said that, he's been on the verge of losing a lot of these games, but somehow he sticks it out. What have you made of his journey so far and his chances in the final?
Look, chess is like many sports. You don't win only by the great moves. You win by the games you don't lose.
We're cutting across to these live visuals from South Africa, Johannesburg, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just landed for the BRICS summit. Remember, the 15th BRICS summit that India is going to be part of after 3 years of it being a virtual summit due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Russia and China will be looking to gain political and economic ground in the developing world at a summit in South Africa that is going to be taking place from today till the 24th of August. And we also are given to understand that on the sidelines of this summit, there is going to be that all-important bilateral between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Chinese President Xi Jinping. My colleague Abhishek Jha is with us on the broadcast to offer more perspective on this all-important BRICS summit that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be physically part of. Abhishek, first of all, if you can explain to the viewers, the visuals that we see around Prime Minister Narendra Modi landing in Joburg. Now, what is part of the itinerary?
The Prime Minister had been given a ceremonial welcome where Deputy President of South Africa was himself present to greet him and welcome him for the BRICS summit talk. Now he will be having leaders talks where Prime Minister Modi with his 4 other counterparts will be participating in BRICS leaders talk. Every leader will be having about 20 minutes time where they'll be discussing about the issues of priority, concern and challenges in the current global context. Russian President Vladimir Putin will not be participating physically, but he will be having a video conferencing through which he will be connected to the World Leaders Conference at the BRICS Summit Level Talk. After that, Prime Minister will also be having a reception that is being hosted by the South African President.
What time is that meeting slated to take place, Abhishek, the meeting with the South African President, Mr. Ramaphosa?
So, there is the expectation that Prime Minister Modi will be having a bilateral also with the host country president. That has been a sort of protocol that every time a visiting leader has a bilateral meeting with the president of the host country. And after the BRICS leaders are arriving at the Summer Palace, there will be a photo opportunity that will be a few hours, about 2 hours from now. where it will be interesting to have Prime Minister Modi with his counterpart, Chinese President Xi Jinping, in the same photo frame, and that will be an occasion, given the context of the China-India South bilateral relationship, that will be important to see those leaders under one roof and in one frame.
Yes.
After that, the leaders will also be arriving for the mega reception that has been hosted by the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Talking about the Indian diaspora, which the Prime Minister is currently meeting as he's been greeted by members of the diaspora. Of course, it's a warm greeting everywhere the Prime Minister goes outside the country. We see similar scenes, but any particular plan this time around for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Abhishek?
In South Africa, the history of Indians has been very centuries old, and so they initially reached there as indentured labour. But gradually over the last 1.5 centuries, they have become part of the social milieu of South Africa, so much so that many influential political leaders, businessmen or social activists or doctors or engineers, professionals, they have some roots and connection with the Indian link, and this is where Prime Minister Modi has always said that Indians or the Indian origin people across the world are the real ambassador of India, its value, its social and cultural, faith, and to address that and to solidify on that, Prime Minister Modi always finds a time and occasion to interact with these diaspora, understand their situation in the social context of that particular host country. This time also we have seen from the airport also there has been large presence of diaspora who have been waiting very enthusiastically to see Prime Minister Modi. At the hotel also we saw some of them present very much there. There are certain aspects also that the diaspora wants Prime Minister Modi to highlight.
Okay.
We were having a discussion with a lady who has been practicing Ayurveda in South Africa. She wants Prime Minister Modi to highlight that Indian knowledge so that the BRICS countries and the other global platform would also understand the importance of Ayurveda and how it can be a very solid, very efficient healing mechanism for many remedies.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Abhishek. We'll keep coming back to all the developments that are going to be reaching us from Johannesburg in South Africa, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just about landed. We're also being told, as per the MEA spokesperson Arindam Bagchi, that a ceremonial guard of honor is also going to be extended to the Indian Prime Minister. Remember, he's been received by the Deputy President of South Africa on his arrival in Johannesburg. We'll keep an eye on this story. Remember, this is the 15th BRICS Summit, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 3-day visit to South Africa. Now, the Congress government in Karnataka has given an in-principle nod to the formation of a committee to prepare the new state education policy, a tailored policy, basically, that aligns more to Karnataka's unique educational requirements. Now, in a high-level meeting that was chaired by Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, it was decided that the current education policy framework will not be tweaked during the ongoing academic year, and those studying under the national education policy will be allowed to finish their third year of college. The government has said that the committee will suggest whether the students can be given the option of continuing the 4-year honours programs and the multidisciplinary education, among other things. I would like to underline here that currently, the National Education Policy, or the NEP, is implemented only in higher educational institutions in the state, with the erstwhile state BJP government having introduced it in the year 2021. However, vice chancellors of public universities have flagged the challenges in implementing some of the provisions of the policy. Concerns have been raised around offering multidisciplinary courses to students, given the lack of qualified faculties, teaching staff, and also the necessary infrastructure. Siddaramaiah basically alleges that the NEP was formulated without involving the state governments, asserting that education policy should not be unilaterally imposed by the union government, considering it is on the concurrent list, with both the union and the state having the power to legislate upon it. On the other hand, the BJP has taken a stance against this move, planning to drum up support for the NEP by convening a brainstorming session with experts and former vice chancellors from various universities.
We have decided we are going to scrap the national education policy which has been adopted by the BJP government. We are going to form a committee. Within a week, a new committee will look into those aspects.
I want to tell my dear friend Shivakumar ji, your facts are wrong. This is a visionary philosophical document envisioned by educationists of this country. This is not a political document. This is a philosophical document for 21st century.
Now, before I open this up for debate on this edition of Viewpoint, let me first break down on what other state governments are saying about the national education policy. What are the reservations that these states, especially 4 states, have over the national education policy? If we look at the Kerala government, it is claiming that the policy is too centralized. Again, the same argument that the state government has not really been taken into consideration. Their issues have not been involved with while devising the national education policy. Tamil Nadu, if we look at, it has in fact decided to set up a panel for the state policy, pretty much like what we are seeing in Karnataka. MK Stalin in fact has called the centre's policy elitist. That is the allegation that's been given out by Tamil Nadu. Karnataka government in fact says that the national education policy is incompatible with the federal structure, clearly against the national education policy, deciding to go ahead with an expert panel to formulate the state education policy. Karnataka government also plans to scrap NEP, like we've been mentioning, and implement a state policy. A panel is going to be set up regards that within a week. Karnataka government also has said that uniform policy does not suit India. So this is a national perspective that they are looking at, and they are saying that when it is about a concrete list as far as education is concerned, a centralized policy does not really suit the diversity that India commands. West Bengal is another state surprisingly that also has some sort of a problem and an issue with the national education policy. They have in fact set up a committee to analyze the policy pretty much on the lines of what we are seeing in Karnataka and also Tamil Nadu. Let me now open this up to my guests on the broadcast. Prashant GS of Karnataka BJP is with us. Lavanya Balal is also with us, who's a spokesperson of the Congress party. And also with us is R.K. Upadhyay, who's a political analyst. Lavanya, ladies first, we'll begin with you. I want to understand, point by point, what is the exact issue that the Karnataka Congress is having with the national education policy?
First of all, the point of the threat to the federal structure. When a subject is on the concurrent list, a unilateral decision by the central government will be viewed as hostile towards the federal structure of this nation. So when multiple states are raising concerns about NEP, we are amazed that the central government refuses to discuss what the states are raising as red flags or something that doesn't suit their particular state. The refusal of the central government to get into a discussion about NEP itself is very alarming. Also, when it is NEP suggests, if you look at NEP, it suggests 6% of the total GDP should be used for education. Whereas if you look at it under the current government itself, in the last 4 years, the education budgets, the total percent of the GDP, it has dropped down and it is stayed at 2.9%. Also, when we are talking about teachers, there is a vacancy of 10 lakh teachers in India. It does not address the issue of recruiting them. Whereas it says we will bring in students who have studied to be assisting these teachers. So it does not address the issue of bringing in more educated people into the system as professors and teachers, right? Also, the other issue that it comes up with is when it comes to classrooms, right? A lot of classrooms and everything, they're talking of a school complex. So school complex will lead to shutting down of your neighborhood schools in a longer period of time. It doesn't happen overnight. The impact of it is felt in a period of time. Now, if you look at the infrastructure of the schools itself, if you look at poor infrastructure, boundary walls, libraries, playgrounds, if you look at the percentage of it, it's very high. So all of these needs to be addressed as well. So what we are asking for as a state, as Karnataka, is when there is lower enrollment for higher education, because there's a huge amount of youth population in India who are graduating and not finding jobs. So when you're saying they can exit out of the system and come back, how is it that when he comes back, where does he come back? How does the student come back? Where does he get into the system once again? All of this is not defined. So when you're giving him an exit route, how are you supporting him in a couple of years? You know, a student would exit the education system to support himself because he's from economically weaker background. Now, if he is exiting for that, how are you helping him, encouraging him come back into the system? What kind of financial assistance will the system provide for him to come back? All of this is a big, vacuum there. There are no answers for all of this.
Okay, so Prashant, would you like to actually take that, some pointed arguments by the Congress party? I'd like to also understand that the essential argument that's been made by these various states that I just listed out before introducing you all was that this is a hurriedly implemented policy which started with the state of Karnataka. How do you counter that?
Griha, firstly, NEP first draft and till the final NEP policy came in, wide-ranging consultations were held from 2015 onwards till it became a reality in 2020. If you look at Professor Kasturirangan's report of 484 pages, it was a very comprehensive report done after many years of research and wide-ranging public consultations across, I would say, the length and breadth of society. Because every parent was consulted, the students' community was consulted, teachers, vice chancellors, and academicians, and eminent social personalities, everybody were part of the consultation process. Only after a wide-ranging consultancy, the National Education Policy 2020 came into being. And if there are any issues that the Congress has got to say that there is a lacuna or a possible loophole in some area, it has to be probably dealt with by how do you do it? Your NEP is already implemented. You will always have measures to reiterate your concerns and ensure that the problems are addressed. The scrapping of NEP is they're doing it only to play with students' future and to buttress the political agenda. They're not keeping in mind the students' future at all.
Prashant, because if we actually listen to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, he has essentially also mentioned that we are not going to alter the NEP right now because the students are in the current curriculum. They don't want to disturb the education system. It's only after the next year is when the implementation is going to be happening as far as the state education policy is concerned. So that fact, in fact, needs to be also underlined here, this claim that you're making. But having said that, the argument is also that the BJP is leaning on an outdated education policy.
No, definitely not. See, what was after public consultation, what came in after thorough analysis and wide-range consultations, Karnataka today cannot say they'll appoint a committee and then probably in 6 months they will overhaul the entire thing, which means how? This was wide-ranging consultations from across the country. People have participated and given their inputs, and only then a very comprehensive policy has come into picture, because you have early childhood care and education also as part of the thing, which means from year number 3 to 5 also you have something. And before every student gets on to class 1, you have something called Bala Vatika, wherein the Anganwadi teachers also are part of it. And even at the B.Ed level, there is a teacher's training also, and multi-mode entry and exit. And to buttress Lavanya's position, saying what do the students get? If any student is opting out for various reasons, after first year, they will get a certificate. After second year, they get a diploma. And after 3 years, they get their degree. So at every stage, they are getting out for various reasons. Though the objective is not to let students discontinue the studies, and we want them to continue till the graduation. For whatever reasons, if they're opting out, there is a mechanism for them to get the credits.
But Prashant,
and therefore,
many of the students do not really continue after the third year. They drop out after the third year.
No, Griha, let me complete. Keeping in mind the national skill development also, suitable things are being implemented through NEP, wherein at every stage when student gets out, his skills are honed and toned in such a way that he'll be employable. Today, most institutions are facing the problem of students not being employable because of this Macaulay system of education and the rote system of understanding. You cannot merely go by what you remember and write in the exam, but your analytic study, your logic, reasoning must also come in. Therefore, in this advanced age of technology, when AI and robotics are taking over, students also need to be taught different things, and probably till age 8, I believe, is when probably 85% of 90% of child's thinking is developing. So therefore, the formative years, we need to give them a very comprehensive way to understand things in a logical way, and therefore NEP is the way forward. And therefore, Congress should not politicize this issue concerning education, and they should in fact suggest if there are any problems and ensure that they implement it better than other states, and point out to the BJP saying, look, you brought out a policy and there were flaws, if at all there were flaws, and we have even tried to change the flaws and implement it in a better way, which means that's when we are going towards.
Lavanya, I know you want to respond to that. Please note down your points, but let me first bring in Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, who's been patiently listening, and then I'll come back to Lavanya. Mr. Upadhyay, the other claim that has been made, and this is both against the BJP and the Congress party, considering they are at loggerheads, obviously we're talking politics here, and they had made it as part of their manifesto. We're talking about the Congress party. That's why they're hell-bent of taking away the national education policy already now implemented in the state of Karnataka, and now deciding to set up a panel to go ahead and start the state education policy. What happens to the education of children, whether they get unsettled because of this constant change, is something both the parties are not accounting for.
Absolutely. I think it's going to unsettle the students because, see, there is unfortunately politics is being played in the field of education. I mean, you see, this was done long overdue. The change of education policy. In fact, the Congress should have been happy that the BJP government now has brought in what Rajiv Gandhi had proposed in '86. It's a continuation of what Rajiv Gandhi, but it was not implemented. Now, so much of consultation has gone before this came into being, and it's unfortunate that the Congress government in Karnataka is playing politics with it. Because see, what is wrong with this? For example, it talks about inquiry-based methodology, and then discovery-oriented learning, activity-based and discussion-based learning, focus on multiple intelligence development. What is wrong with all this ideas? I think they should not be looking. And the education minister, Karnataka education minister, Mr. Madhu Bangarappa, I mean, who's not even a graduate, he calls it a Nagpur education policy. I mean, his mindset is made. He wants to call it an RSS, inspired education policy. Whereas multiple, experts were consulted before this was drafted, and it's being rolled. Of course, there are lacunas in what Karnataka government has implemented, because there is a lot of requirement for the infrastructure and all that has to be done. So you look where the lacunas are and you correct it instead of dumping it. You will be going backwards instead of going forward. Karnataka has been a hub of various education institutions, and Karnataka has been in the forefront. Now they're going to take it back by a decade or so if they're going to scrap the new education policy.
And that's an important point that you make, Mr. Upadhyay, but I'd still like to understand these lacunas that you talk about. Can they really be discounted and that badly, that there is that hurry to just go ahead and implement the national education policy? The other argument that the Congress is making, that while the BJP has not really implemented it in any other BJP ruled state, Karnataka was the very first one. If it's that path breaking, why not go ahead and do it?
No, it has been implemented in Uttar Pradesh. It has been implemented in many other states. It's not that only Karnataka has implemented. Karnataka was the first one to implement it. But I'm sure that there are lacunas to be filled, because I think enough preparations has not been made, and it's beginning, and you need to work on it, and it's at the higher education level. We are yet to come to the primary and the middle education, because that is where more focus should be for the education system. And I'm sure they should be looking at how to improve upon it instead of just scrapping it and then saying that we will have our own education policy. Because after all, this is a concurrent list. It's not just a state list.
Absolutely.
Subject.
Lavanya, your word. Yes.
Both the gentlemen fail to address what is the support system for the students if they choose to step out of the education system for economic reasons. The goal of every government should be to retain students in the classroom and help them stay there with economic assistance and not let them step out. That is point number one. I would like to remind everybody, I have worked extensively with Anganwadis, the teachers and the students. And here is my feedback when it talks about early education. NEP says Anganwadis and everything will be moved to a school complex. Anganwadis also work as creche for mothers of lower economic strata, right? So when this mother has an Anganwadi which is 10 minutes, 15 minutes from her place of work, it is very convenient for her. If you move the Anganwadi to a school complex which is far away, it leaves the child out of the education system of a place where it gets nutrition. That's an important point none of you are talking about. Also,
I don't know. I think Lavanya, you are trying to mislead people here. No,
Totally misleading, and it's not part of
It's nitpicking, Lavanya. That's that's a point that needs to be agreed upon. The whole aspect that we are discussing, and I'm really sorry, I'm short on time on the broadcast. Prashant, Lavanya, and Mr. Upadhyay, thank you so much. I'd have to leave it at that because the essential aspect is that there is something being brought in by the erstwhile government of Karnataka as far as the BJP is concerned. Whether to make better that policy is something that the state government, now the Congress party government, should be looking at, or they should be sparring over an education policy, and hence putting the lives and also the education system of so many students at risk is something that they need to answer for themselves. I'll leave it at that. My colleague Shivani is up next with Plain Speak Now.
Here and there adds to your score. So Pragyananda has done an amazing job. I would go further. Since June this year, he has played 3 events. He's played the Global Chess League, he played a tournament in Hungary, and now he's playing the FIDE World Cup. In all 3 events, he's playing unlike the Pragyananda even of that we knew before, who was already one of the world's best juniors and one of the world's most promising talents. But in these 3 tournaments, he's raised his level enormously. But Carlsen is playing at one of his best levels too. So it's going to be challenging. Now, Pragyananda needed to rely on his defensive skills a lot against Caruana yesterday, because Caruana is one of the best players in the world, one of the best prepared players in the world, in openings especially. So Prag had to survive a lot of difficult positions. But he's been much more all-round. He beat Arjun, he beat some other players in the World Cup with his attacking skills. So he's been drawing from multiple skills as well. But he will be sorely tested by Carlsen, make no doubt about it.
Do you think some of his previous wins against Carlsen will make a difference, mentally at least, for this 18-year-old? Because this is a humongous stage for him. The first final he's made. In fact, a measure of his growth is from the fact that in the last World Cup, he was eliminated in the 4th round. And this time, he's beaten the world number 2 and 3 en route to setting the date with the world number 1. Do you think it would help him that he has faced Magnus Carlsen multiple times before and has actually won against him, even though this would be a different stage?
Yes, it would help a lot. Definitely, knowing that somebody has resigned against you once, that you've done it once, you know that it's possible. A lot of people, when they play Magnus, they're not even sure what is possible. But he knows that he can do it. But equally, he knows how strong Magnus is. So, but that's something to draw from. You know, I've done this before. When an opportunity arises, I've punished him before. And as much as Prag knows it, I think Magnus knows it as well. So Magnus will be just a little bit wary thanks to those wins. These things always help.
Yes, actually Magnus Carlsen said after one of Pragyananda's previous victories that we all want to be like him. So this young 18-year-old boy has a lot of fans even amongst his peers, if I can call them that. Just the journey that Pragyananda has had is enormous.
Yes, very much. He has a lot of fans, and somehow people like calling him Prag, and they like looking at that name and thinking, what's going on here? I can add that there was a joke that he's a new Indian, but he's still got Anand in his name.
Oh.
So, but anyway, he's actually very popular. He has many fans, and most of the top players think of him very warmly as well. On top of that, you only have to see his mother and his sister, and you root for the whole family. It's very touching.
Absolutely. Anand, I did want to touch upon the fact that you talked about Magnus Carlsen, that you've punished him in the past, but you did lose your World Chess Championship title to Magnus Carlsen. Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. West Bengal government led by Mamata Banerjee is surrounded by yet another controversy. Remember, just on Monday, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee announced an increase in the monthly allowance for Muslim clerics in the state and balanced it out with an equal increase in the stipend for Hindu priests. The Chief Minister made the announcements while addressing a conference of imams and muezzins in Kolkata. She went on to say, and I quote, that as long as I am alive and my party is in power,